Hey guys, and welcome back to the Face It podcast. Today I'm joined by the lovely Kate from KJ Aesthetics. So thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
So I think we should start. How did you get into aesthetics and where you are now?
I started doing semi-permanent makeup just over 2 years ago now. And it was something that I've always had. I got into brows first. So that was something I was always fascinated with, brows. Big complete change of career. So I started, I was cabin crew for 15 years. Very fortunate, worked for a lot of UK-based airlines. And then the last 7 years I was based in the Middle East, in Dubai. So then I moved back. During my time when I was working in the UK, I also worked as a makeup artist for Chanel. And that's when I learned, it was very early 2000s. So we were all still overplucking our brows in those days. And I learned about the power of, if you actually draw the brow on and shape it, the difference it makes in a face. So I was always like, yeah, I'm liking this. So I've always been known as the girl that always does her brows. And then came back to England and had my 2 children, didn't work for 6 years. I was very fortunate, stayed at home. But when you've always worked, it's like, I can't do this staying at home business. I need to be doing something. So I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I actually fell into teaching. So I started teaching. I still teach now as I teach in a college. I teach travel and tourism and cabin crew. So I still do that 2 days a week. But you know, I missed meeting people. So I teach students, I teach 16 to 18-year-olds, and as lovely as they can be, I just miss that interaction with customers and people. I'm very much a people person. So I was like, what can I do? I want my own business. I like to work for myself. So I thought, what can I do with brows? I love brows. What can I do? So I started researching semi-permanent makeup and microblading. And yes, I signed up onto a course with a fabulous trainer. I'm very fortunate to train with her. Trained in brows first. Did that for sort of about 9 months because I really wanted to get good at brows. Then added on the lip blush. Then added on the eyeliner. And then it's just been a slow sort of rolling. Things have added on. And that's that. Then we've just got to sort of the past 6 months, a lot of my clients were saying, no, can't you do like injectables? Can't you do Botox? Can't you do this? And I was like, well, never really thought about it, to be honest. I'm more about the brows. So yeah, because they were asking for it, I thought, you know what, let's try it and give it a go. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So I've only recently trained in aesthetics. I'm still very new, so I'm no expert at all. I'm very new in it. That's how I got into it. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you've done so many amazing things, even the lead up to where you are now. I wonder how that transition's been for you, like to be in the position you're at now. Do you feel like, yeah, that was right, and I'm still glad that I went and did cabin crew, and I'm glad that I had done these other things prior to now beginning this kind of permanent makeup? And
Absolutely. I mean, being crew for 15 years, I started back in 2000. So I started before 9/11, before the big changes. And, you know, when I started crew, it was all about the glamour. It was all about how you looked. I mean, when I first started flying, people still laugh at this, I used to get weighed every month. That's how strict it used to be. And things are different now, but I am sort of what they class as the old school cabin crew. But it was all about the way you present yourself, and that's something that's always stuck with me. And even now, like on the school run, I'll always have my lipstick on. You won't ever see me without lipstick on. It's always about how you present yourself. And I'm a big believer in, you know, the way you present yourself tells you a lot about a person. So doing cabin crew, obviously I've got a lot of transferable skills because being crew, we dealt a lot with passengers, with people. So you learn all about your customer service skills, the way you present yourselves, the way you talk to people, the way you problem solve, as well as obviously you have in-depth medical training. And over 15 years, I can safely say I've dealt with quite a lot of medical incidents. And I think a lot of the time with medical incidents, it's how you respond to it. It's, you know, you can be trained by the best, but nobody knows how they're going to react until it actually happens. And when you're at 35,000 feet and you've got no one else to call and there's no 999, you have to react and you have to deal with it. So that's something that when I was deciding to go into aesthetics, I thought, you know, with the whole conversation between medic, non-medic, and I thought, you know, I know that I've dealt with a lot of things on board the aircraft. I've dealt with, you know, I've had death, I've had anaphylactics, I've had choking, I've had a lot of things. And I know that dealing with them, it's something you can't learn. You can't learn how to deal with the situation until you're put in that situation. So definitely being crew has given me a lot of transferable skills to bring forward into my business. I love the path that I've taken, and I've been very fortunate to travel the world and meet so many people. And now I come in and I love hearing about all my clients when they're going on holiday. I'm always, oh, where you going? Where you going? Where you going? Where you been? I haven't been there. Let me try that place. And yeah, it's definitely something that I look back on and it's been worthwhile. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned the word transferable skills, because ultimately that's what I suppose our life journey is about, is what we learn along the way and how we can adapt them and change them to suit
Yeah.
where we are now, I suppose. And something key that I picked up on that you said was about dealing with medical emergencies. And I suppose it doesn't matter in what profession you're in, whether you are cabin crew or doing aesthetics or semi-permanent makeup, the safety of ourselves and the people around us is paramount. So I guess that kind of links onto what you said about medic and non-medic. What's your kind of opinion or thoughts surrounding, you know, should it only be medics doing this, or actually, as long as you keep that need for safety at the forefront, does it matter if you're not a nurse or a doctor?
I mean, it's a big controversial issue, isn't it? And it's something that, I mean, I've been having sort of Botox for the past sort of 15 years, and I've been to places all over the world to have them done. Whichever stop I was at, I thought, right, when can I go get my Botox? So I've been having sort of aesthetics treatments for a long time, and I was always under the impression it has to be medic, it has to be medic. And it's only sort of that I've sort of moved into this industry that I'm actually questioning, why was I thinking like that? And I actually had a conversation with a nurse, and we had quite an in-depth conversation. And even she said, what I'm trained in, if I want to go into aesthetics, I still have to do the same training as you. She says, the only thing that I'm probably trained in, and this is where this conversation came from, was how I deal with things in an emergency. Yes, I've dealt with things in the trauma room and things like that. So she said, I think if you have that mindset of knowing how to be calm in a situation and having the knowledge and wanting to learn and absorb that knowledge, then I don't think there's a reason why you should be medic or non-medic. And it sort of changed my mind. And there's medics out there that aren't as safe as everyone else. And there's things that was in the news recently about a lady that worked in a hospital with all those children. I don't want to mention her name, but she wasn't ethically correct. So just because you're a trained medic doesn't mean, I don't think, that you are ethically correct or everything that you do is correct. Not all, but there's two sides to every coin, isn't there? So I think as long as you're prepared to put the work in and do the studying and make sure you're the best that you can be, and you are working clean, and you're aware of things that can go wrong, and you keep your knowledge up to date, then yeah, I don't see that it should have to be medic, non-medic.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people who are maybe outside of the industry don't realize that when you are training, it's not just about, you know, how many meals do we think will look good in these lips. It's, you know, the anatomy of the face, like you said, about dealing with emergencies. Like, we are learning literally the ins and outs of these people. It isn't just the surface level things that people assume. And I think that's why there maybe is that divide, because people aren't recognizing that we actually are learning, like I say, like anatomy, about blood, you know, all sorts of really scientific things.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I suppose it's kind of reassuring clients and people in general, like I say, who aren't in the industry, that actually we do know what we're doing. And
yeah,
it goes back to, again, dealing with emergencies.
Yeah, I think it's building up client trust as well. People have to trust in you, and that's again comes back to how you present yourself. If you present yourself as someone who's, oh, I'm not really sure, or not very confident in what they're doing, it's all can be a bit of a show. I mean, first time I did Botox, I wasn't confident at all. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've only done it in the training academy, and I was trained amazingly, but I trained with an amazing academy, and even my trainer was on hand that day saying, right, send me your plotting out, and I'll tell you where to move them, but you've got this. And but my clients trust me because they know that I'm very thorough, and I make sure that I'm doing, I double check everything before I do everything. So I think a lot of it is about clients trust, building trust with people, in you as a person, to build your confidence. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Like you say, the amount of confidence you exude in the room really can kind of put your client at ease. And I suppose on that note, who would you say your clients are? Like, do you have a general kind of type of person that comes to you for your services?
Yeah, my clients are definitely sort of my age and above. So I'd say over 40s and above, most of my clients that come to me for semi-permanent makeup and also for the aesthetics. Yeah, and I target myself at that age bracket because I've got more of a connection. I think there's a lot of people that aim at the younger people, and that's great. That's where they want to go to for those sort of looks. But I am more about the natural enhancements. You know, people come to me saying, oh, massive big brows. I'm sorry, you've come to the wrong place, because that's not what I'm about. I'm about doing what suits your face, what the colour's going to look like, and as natural as possible, to be honest, you know. Especially with brows, I always say to my clients, like, you should wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and be like, oh, look, I've got brows, not, oh, I've got brows, I'm attracted to this brows, you know. It shouldn't be like that. They shouldn't be that so huge, you know. So yeah, it's about marketing people that I attract people that are very similar to myself. It's very strange. The more I talk to my clients, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're so similar. And it's that you connect, don't you? And I think you attract like. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also important as the person doing it to stay with what aligns with you. So if these thick brows aren't your thing, that's also okay to say, do you know what, that doesn't align with me. I wouldn't feel like I could be doing you the best service because that's not really my thing.
Exactly.
So it's okay to stick with what we know we can do best as well.
I think it's all about making sure that you're client focused, aren't you? And I think that comes a lot from my customer care background. You know, I've worked for an airline where I worked in first class, I worked in business class, I worked in economy. So I've dealt with a mix of people from different backgrounds. And it's all about knowing what your client wants and matching that, and not being scared to say, actually, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not always here for the money. It's not about making money. It's about making you happy, because if your clients are happy, they're going to come back to you, and that's what client retention is, and that's what we all want, isn't it? We, at the end of the day, we don't have to keep going up, finding new clients, because if you've got a good customer service, your clients are going to come back to you. And once you build that basic client set, you shouldn't have to keep fighting for clients, if that makes sense. That's one of my big beliefs, is I've got a lot of returning clients, because I think the customer service I give, and I base everything on customer service. I think it's all about how you treat people and if they want to come back to you. Because even if you do, I don't know, if one day you're not your best self, but they trusted you, they will come back to you. It's all about how you portray yourself to people, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that actually like fired up a question, was where you're in the semi-permanent makeup, the client retention is obviously what you want them to come back, but you might not see these clients for a good period of time. How do you kind of manage that?
So when I first started, that was hard. Like, I started out just offering sort of model slots, and I only work 1 day a week, because I still teach now. So I still teach now 2 days a week. So I juggle working in a college 2 days a week. I juggle 2 small children, and then starting up my own business. And when I started my business, we also moved house as well. So it was just like,
wow. Yeah, everything.
So I have learned to be the most organized person. I have lists, I have everything. But yeah, when I first started, I rented a room in a salon, and I'd get like probably 3 a month through, like 1 a day for the 4 days a week I was there. And for me at the time, it was great. It was like giving me a chance to learn and to grow, and not to get too overwhelmed with everything else that was going on, because we are in a world now where most of us, especially women working, we are time poor. We don't have the time to spend on the social media and everything else that comes with it, and we do get overwhelmed. So I built it up for about a year. It took a year to build up a client base, because obviously your clients come back for their top up and then you don't see them for another 12 months. So it was that constant having to advertise, and I was learning, you know, I wasn't social media savvy at all. I was learning how to do this, how to whatever. And then I decided last year, to add on some new treatments. So I'm like thinking, what can I get to get people through the door? So I added on simple like lash lifts, brow laminations, and then facials as well, which gets a lot of my clients back in. So now I do have more regular clients coming back in. So I think adding on a few of those treatments that do get the clients back in more regular is definitely worthwhile for me, because they come in, then they see what you're doing. And a lot of my clients who've booked in for, I don't know, a facial, are then gone on and had semi-permanent makeup, or oh, you do Botox as well, oh, I'll get that done as well with you. And like a lot of my people are like, oh, I love it that I'm just coming, it's one-stop shop. You can do my brows, I can have a facial one, I can get my Botox done at the same time. So yeah, it's been, I've been, well, I say 2 years, and it's still building, but I've got quite a good client base now, and I work in my clinic 2-3 days a week, and I'm normally 1 month fully booked in advance, which is good for me. So yeah, but it does take time. It does take time to get those clients in.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say then has kind of helped you to get those clients? Like, is it social media or word of mouth? What's kind of worked the best for your business?
I think a lot of social media. I joined like a beauty training academy, it's not an academy, what is it? It's like a training scheme. So you join, you pay monthly, and they'll teach you about social media, about how to get new clients. So I mean, that has been a godsend to me, and it helped me find direction in because it's very easy when you come into this industry, because there are so many people doing it, and there's so many people who've got so many amazing social media pages. It's really easy to feel overwhelmed, to be like, oh, I'm not as good as them. But you've got to remember, you've got to stay in your lane. You're doing what you're doing, and you're at where you're at. And we've all got different things going on in life. You know, some people do it full time. Brilliant, that's great. You've got all that time to put into it. Some of us are doing it as well as other jobs, as well as probably having a small family. And you've just got to remember, I think, to stay in your lane. So I joined this group, which helped me learn how to get new clients in. So yeah, through social media, through direct messaging. And that was a big one, actually, sending direct messages to people. I formulated a message and I send it out to people that follow me on Instagram, just offering them a little discount, you know, introducing my services. When I first started, it's quite nerve-wracking to do, actually, because you do think, oh gosh, but then I always take the advice that someone gave me once, saying they can't eat you, so don't worry, they can't eat you, it's just a message, they can't eat you. And I was like, do you know what, it's so true. So yeah, I just used to send messages on Facebook, and some people were a bit rude coming back to me, and I was like, really do you need to say that to me? I'm just offering some service, offering you a discount on services. But it is what it is, we roll with it. Excuse me, you do have to, I think you become quite thick-skinned to it, but yeah, social media's been a big one for me, definitely. Just sending messages to people, advertising, and I've not really done much paid advertising, to be honest. It's just sort of maybe Facebook, on Facebook groups, sending messages to people. Yeah, it's getting to know people in your area, isn't it? Focusing on those people in your area, those people, your ideal clients. You need to know who your ideal client is, and that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially at the beginning, when you're just starting out, it is, you know, don't be afraid. I always like to think that if you try, the worst place you're going to get is the place that you're still at.
Exactly.
I mean, you're only either going to get further or you're going to stay where you are. So in reality, just try and push.
You know, I think people always forget, like we can all get so overwhelmed with looking at other people, and it can be anything, looking at where they are, looking what they've done. But you have to remember, everyone has a first day. And I always used to say to new crews, I was a cabin manager with my last airline, and so I'd have a lot of new crew on, and they used to be petrified. And I used to say to them, we've all had a first day. Yeah. None of us were born being crew. None of us were born knowing what we know. So remember, we've all had to start somewhere, and you will look back in a year's time, be like, oh my gosh, look where I am now. And I think we all need to remember to sort of check in with ourselves and go, do you know what? Yeah, give myself a pat on the back, because look where I've come from day 1, from day 10, from day 100, because we all have to start somewhere, don't we? And it's like any job in life. No one is born doing what they do. So don't ever sort of compare yourself to anybody, because I think we all need to remember we're all on our own journey. I think that's a big one for me. Yeah,
definitely. And it is, comparison is the thief of joy, isn't it? And the more you kind of look around, you think, oh my goodness, like, am I doing what they're doing? Should I be doing what they're doing? And it is a case of, like you say, stay in your own lane. And the more you get to know your clients, then you know what they like, what they don't like, what you should be offering, what you shouldn't be doing, etc., etc. And ultimately, as long as you're doing the best service for your own clients, don't worry about anyone else.
Absolutely. You just got to, it's hard to do it because we do live in a very comparative world. I mean, social media, as good it is as it is, it's as bad as it is. And we see it with young girls comparing themselves online to you know, models, and you know, pictures that are edited, and everyone looking so beautiful. And it's not the real world. And you have to remind yourself, it is not the real world. You have to stay in your lane and do what you're doing, and know that you're doing the best you can. And as long as you're making sure you're up to date, making sure that your knowledge is good, keep practicing, keep trying. You know, no one started with this fabulous social media. No one started with 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers. We've all got to start somewhere. So I think people need to cut themselves a bit of slack. It is a hard industry, but as long as you know you're not going to be making millions within the first 2 months, set yourselves little targets and little goals, and you will get there. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it is, the social media part has a lot to do with it, probably the biggest part to do with it, actually. Like you say, we see everyone else's stuff, and even with regards to just social media, like, that takes time to build, you know, getting noticed amongst lots of other pages. So again, I think it is just go with what aligns with you, and don't be afraid to show off your work. Show it off.
Absolutely.
Good pictures, you know, we all want to see.
You do need to show off your work, but you'll find, like, I mean, I look at the work that I first started doing, and I was like, oh yeah, this is good, and then look back at it now, I'm like, oh god, what did I do? But those clients are still coming back to me, and I'm like, right, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to make it better. And it's just all about your own growth, isn't it? You know, it's all about your own growth and your own journey, and what you're doing it for. You've got to have a reason why you're doing it. And for me, my reason why is I wanted to be at home with my children more, and I wanted more flexibility, and I wanted to work for myself. I'm a very motivated person. I'm a very positive person. I think sometimes a little bit too much. People get a bit annoyed with me because I'm always like, look at the positive. Be thankful that you woke up today. It's a new day. Be grateful. Look what's coming at you. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, look at what you've got, you know, because there's so much bad and wrong going on in the world. I think we really do sometimes need to just check in and say, do you know what? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I might not have a full diary today, but I'll make use of that time and I'll send some social media messages out, or I'll go direct message someone, or do you know what? I'll just practice. I'll practice. If it's me in my clinic, then I'll be like, do you know what? I'm going to get my pen out and start practicing some different hair strokes or different brows, or just keep practicing, just keep doing stuff. But yeah, every day you've got to be a positive day. You've got to be positive in this industry, because otherwise I think it's too easy to sort of start digging a hole of, oh, I'm not as good as that person, and I'm never going to be that good. And you've got to give yourself a pat on the back, because no one else will half the time. You've got to beef yourself up and say, yeah, well, I'm doing this and I am getting there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned knowing why you're doing it, because if you know why, that's the way that you're going to get through the bad days and the days when you're comparing yourself, or like you said, you know, I don't have a full diary today and I feel like I should, but knowing why you decided to get into aesthetics or beauty or the semi-permanent makeup really helps you kind of power through on the top.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Absolutely.
And I suppose I'd like to kind of round up this podcast by asking you, what would you suggest then for people who are either new to the industry or want to come into the industry? What would be your kind of like top tips for getting started?
I think first of all, make sure you train with somebody who's really reputable. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I think I'm a bit of a geek. I like to do a lot of research around people. I'm always stalking people and doing research.
That's always a good thing. It's a good thing.
Honestly, I think because I'm a teacher, I did do some training. I did training with one company, and I was just amazed at the lack of skills from the teaching side. Like, they didn't even introduce themselves. They didn't even ask my name. And I was like, wow. So yeah, definitely do your research. Maybe a bit more critical, because I'm a teacher and I know about teaching style. So I do sort of like, not judge, but I'm like, okay. But yeah, you do your research around where you train, and you need to find a trainer that there is after service. So all the people that I've trained with, I've got direct contact with them, and I'm always asking them questions, and they always get back to me with advice. And if you're not sure, you need to have that, because that is so important in this industry. At the end of the day, whether it's semi-permanent makeup, you are leaving an imprint on someone's face, or injectables, you are leaving something on someone's face. If you are not sure, you need to have someone that you can contact and go, this has happened, or I'm not sure about this, or I've got a client who's got this, what do I do? So that's definitely, make sure they offer that after support. That is critical, I think, in this industry. You need someone who you can bounce ideas off or double check in with. That would be my main one. Make sure with your training that you go with someone who's reputable. Not always the cheapest and not always the most expensive as well. You've just got to find the one that matches you and what you want. What else? I'd make sure you know about your costs, because it's not a cheap industry to get into. Setting up, it sounds all very easy, but it does take time to build up. So make sure you go into it with the illusion that, yes, this is going to take me at least a good year to build up some sort of client base. Don't go into it illusioned of, I'm going to be making loads of money within a few months, because it's just not realistic. And I think that's what a lot of people think. It isn't realistic. What else? I'd say you've got to grow a bit of a thick skin, and you've got to, like I keep saying, stay in your own lane. You've just got to stay in your own lane. You've got to know your reason why you're doing it, and just stick at that and keep plowing away. Make sure I follow people on social media whose work I admire, whose work I like. Follow them, see what they're doing, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask them questions. I'm always following people on Instagram and, you know, commenting on their work, saying, oh, it's amazing, because I'm all about bigging up other people. You know, it's all about it's what is it? This could be, I suppose, a jealous industry. Like, I see a lot of and bitterness, whereas I'm all about, do you know what, if someone does good work, I'm going to comment on it and say that is amazing and that was great. So follow those people and comment them, and don't be scared. If someone messaged me and said, oh, that's amazing, can you give me some advice, I'm more than happy to share what I know with anyone. So don't be scared to contact someone if you like their work and say, oh, how did you do that, or whatever, because anyone in this industry that I know of is more than happy to share ideas and thoughts. So definitely reach out and ask. Yeah, that's my top 3 tips. And I don't know what else I could tell you. Make sure you just keep thick skin, just keep going, don't ever give up.
Well, I think that sounds like great advice. So thank you very much for sharing that. And just before we kind of sign off, did you want to let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at k.j.aesthetics, and on Facebook, same name, k.j.aesthetics. And you can find me on there. You'll see some of my reels. I do lots of sometimes I try and throw funny reels in. I do a lot of mental reels, thinking about mental health, because I'm big on mental health, because I do think in this industry it's so easy to get caught up in stuff. So I do try and do some of those as well. But yeah, welcome to follow me, or if you've got any questions, send them over. I'm happy to answer.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Facebook podcast.
Thank you for having me.